Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, our group will explain or present one of the theory that has been discussed previously in the lecture. So, our group decided to choose a theory structuralism. So, before we start our presentation, let me introduce my group members. Me, Mewista A as moderator, and my friends, Rima, Siti Nur Kumala, Yasmin F A, and khatimatuz Zahro. So, without any further ado, let's start our presentation. For the first presenter, Rima, time.
Okay, thank you, Momoy. For the moderator, let me explain the first material. It's the tenets of structuralism, and what actually structuralism is. The first point is structuralism believes in, of course. If we discuss structuralism, it is used to analyze literary work based on its structure contains in literary works. For example, the structure of culture, social, politics, history, sociology, and others. Structuralism theory can approach anywhere to the elements contained in a literary work. We can analyze the structures of the character, setting, and others. It depends on structure itself. So that's why structuralists believes in universal truth. And the second is an example of basic elements to compose system of meaning in binary opposition. So what is binary oppositions? Binary opposition is in the theory of structuralism, we can interpret structures if we don't compare it with other structures. For example, we can do not get the meaning of white if we do not compare with the other structures of black. So the structuralism use a binary oppositions to compose systems of meanings. And the third point is there is a single truth or meaning is stable, of course, because the meaning of the literary works, it not depends on the readers, but it depends on the structures contents itself. For example, in Cinderella, we know stepmother. All of the readers around the world know and agree if stepmother is wicked and evil. So it means that there is a single truth and meaning is stable. And the next material will be explained by Siti Nur Kumala. Thank you.
Okay, next is key figures. There are 6 key figures, and the first is Ferdinand de Saussure's in linguistics. The essence of Saussure's theory is the principle that language is a sign system, and every sign is composed of 2 parts. They are signifier and signified. The signifier is an abstract concept or idea, while the signifier is a person or physical image. Sign can be interpreted as an idea or something meaningful. And the second is Levi-Strauss in anthropology. Strauss' method is both anthropology and linguistics simultaneously. The elements he deals with are myth, custom, and society itself. In the process of analysis, humans are then seen as portion of the structure which is not constituted by the analysis, but is dissolved by analysis. The shift in emphasis from man to structure is a common feature of structure talk. And the third is Jack Lacan and Jean Piaget in psychology. French structuralist Jack Lacan applies structuralism to psychoanalysis. Similarly, Jean Piaget applies structuralism to the study of psychology, albeit in a different way. Jack Lacan described the work of Strauss and Levi-Strauss to emphasize Sigmund Freud's opinion, with language and argument as a coded order. Language can reveal the person's unconscious. This is a problem. The language is always moving and dynamic, including metaphor, metonymy, condensation, and shift. Meanwhile, Chinti himself described his structuralism as an integrated structure, whose elements are members of a system outside the structure itself. The structure through the cognition of community members as collective conscience. Okay, the next, Ima.
Okay, I will continue. The next figures of structuralism is Yehiber in mathematical and metallurgic. For the next, Roland Better carries but structuralism analysis of literary criticism by considering various types and the expression of language analysis as different language. The text of literary criticism is translation, which is to express the normal system that has been developed by the author in a language. For the next, Michael Vaughan in psychology, modern structuralism or post-structuralism in the field of psychology is to approach the subjectivity of generation in various epistemic discourse from their imitation and inspiration. And the last, Gurdesich in Nasrani, as well as the extension role of science and power in the protection and preservation of Christian display in the fight and the social share, so does this approach. Thank you. Will be continued by Mewista A.
Okay, next I will explain about the concept structuralism theory. So here there are several points that I get about the concept of structuralism. First, structuralism in literature is also called objective study toward literary text because the focus of the study is the text itself as giving meaning autonomously. This approach is also called an intrinsic study that analyzes only the meaning of how the intrinsic elements of a literary text as structures relate to each other and then give a meaning. And structuralism applied in literature focuses on the internal workings and structures of text. Structures are seen to be complete in themselves and to a great extent evident in the text. And the last one, structuralism has basic point in literary analysis that places literary text as the center of analysis. It means that structuralism focus is on the form of a text itself that some critics say it is a kind of formal research. The form of text including aesthetic, figurative, and the beauty of language. And next, here, there is quotation from Endraswara in his book Metodologi Penelitian Sastra, say that structuralisme pada dasarnya merupakan cara berpikir tentang dunia yang terutama berhubungan dengan tanggapan dan deskripsi struktur-struktur. Dalam pandangan ini, karya sastra diasumsikan sebagai fenomena yang memiliki struktur yang saling terkait satu sama lain. Kodrat struktur itu akan bermakna apabila dihubungkan dengan struktur lain. Struktur tersebut memiliki bagian yang kompleks sehingga pemaknaan harus diarahkan ke dalam hubungan antar unsur secara keseluruhan. Keseluruhan akan lebih berarti dibanding bagian atau fragmen struktur. So from the quotation, we can conclude that in understanding a literary text structuralism based, we must understand every element of literature in a work and their relation to each other to achieve the meaning of the text. And the elements may not be separated from other elements because they stand as system which build their structure. Okay, next, the presenter is Yasmin Fajria Asharif. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the time, Mewista. But before would you please to yes, and okay, thank you. Okay, because this is my turn, I would like to explain. The right one is giving you the example of how to apply structuralism in analysis of literary work. In this section, we give you the example of an analysis with the title The Structural Analysis of Tech PT, a short story by Bernard Malamud. This research was written by Ayesa Irshad and Mumtaz Ahmed. In this section, it is very explained well how the structuralism theory is used in this analysis. As you have been heard before by our previous speaker about the definition of structuralism, so in structuralism is an approach which used by us know the structural elements of literary work. In this case, we know the short story as our literary work. So together in this analysis, the researcher will talk about the elements of a literary work that exists in this short story. So please next slide. I'm sorry, I think because the slide is not moving on in me. Okay, thank you. And then the elements which are analyzed in this research are the title, the theme and premise, the spine of the story, the backstory or exposition, the conflict and the contrast and setting. So by structuralist, you can analyze the title. You can know why the title is given in this short story. For this case, why the author of the short story, which is Malamud, choose the word tech pity to be his title is because of it referring to the condition of Eva's family. And then by structuralism, we can also know the character of each actor in this short story. For example, you can know why the main actor or the minor actor is act the way they act. For doing the research of structuralism, we also need to do a close reading of our literary work. I mean, if you decided to analyze a poem or a novel, so you need to do a close reading of your literary work. After that, you can decide it what theory that you will use in your analysis. So maybe just it that I could deliver to you. I would like to give the time to our moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the last presenter, Yasmin Fajria Sharif. Okay, I think that's all our presentation for this time. Last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam.
Wabarakatuh.